Imagine driving at over 170 miles per hour. You're inches away from another car. And then, in a single fraction of a second, everything goes wrong. The wall rushes toward you. There's nothing you can do. And when the dust settles, NASCAR officials look at the data and go completely silent. Because what they're seeing on their screens, they've never seen before. Not once. Not in years. Not ever. That moment happened at Michigan International Speedway. And the driver behind the wheel was Christopher Bell. What NASCAR confirmed in the days after that crash will genuinely shock you. And what Bell decided to do next, that might shock you even more. Stay with me, because this story goes much deeper than what you saw on the broadcast. Before we go any further, if you're a real NASCAR fan, the kind who wants to understand what's actually happening behind the headlines, not just the surface-level recap, then NASCAR Report Today is the channel for you. We're still growing. We're chasing 15,000 subscribers. And if you hit that subscribe button right now, you become part of this community from the very beginning. That means something. Hit subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. Do it now, and let's get into this story. Let's go back to Michigan International Speedway. The Firekeepers Casino 400. Lap 148. Christopher Bell is in the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, running competitively in a race that matters enormously for his championship campaign. He's racing side by side with Chase Elliott, the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. They're on a restart. These are always the most dangerous moments in NASCAR, cars bunched together, speeds climbing fast, drivers pushing for every inch of track position. Elliott's Chevrolet gets loose underneath Bell. Contact is made. And just like that, Bell's Toyota is no longer under control. The car rockets toward the outside wall in turn 4. There's no time to react. No way to correct. Bell can only brace for what's coming. The impact is immediate and violent. The sound alone is enough to make the crowd go silent. The damage to the car is severe and obvious. The safer barrier at that section of the wall takes a direct hit, and the force involved is so significant that the wall itself requires repairs before racing can continue. A red flag comes out. Track workers spend approximately 20 minutes fixing the barrier. 20 minutes to repair a wall. Think about that. That is not a normal occurrence in NASCAR. That happens when the force involved is extreme. Bell is checked by NASCAR medical personnel. He's conscious. He's able to communicate. But something is clearly wrong with his left wrist. He is transported for further evaluation and the race continues without him. A DNF at a critical point of the season. Championship points gone. Momentum gone. But the full story of what happened to Christopher Bell at Michigan, that was only just beginning to come out. In the days following the Michigan race, NASCAR officials began releasing information about the crash. And what they revealed was genuinely stunning. NASCAR Vice President of Racing Communications Mike Ford spoke about the incident during the latest edition of Holler Talk, NASCAR Safety. And what he said put everything into a completely different context. According to Ford, NASCAR's data confirmed that Bell's impact at Michigan was the hardest hit ever recorded during the entire next-gen era. Let that sink in for a moment. The next-gen car was introduced at the start of the 2022 season. Since then, we have seen massive crashes at Daytona, at Talladega, at Charlotte, at Bristol, at road courses, at short tracks and at superspeedways. We have seen cars destroyed at nearly every type of circuit on the NASCAR calendar. And yet, not one of those crashes produced a harder impact than what Christopher Bell experienced at Michigan. But NASCAR didn't stop there. Ford also shared comments from Matt Harper, the managing director of safety systems at the NASCAR Research and Development Center. Harper has been with NASCAR since 2015. That means he has personally evaluated over a decade's worth of crash data. Every massive wreck, every hard hit, every terrifying moment that has been measured and recorded. And according to Harper, Bell's crash at Michigan was the hardest impact he has personally evaluated since joining the organization. More than a decade of data. More than a decade of incidents. And this was the worst. Now, when NASCAR evaluates crash severity, one of their primary measurements is something called delta V. This measures how much speed a driver loses during an impact. The higher the delta V, the more violent the crash. It's one of the most important numbers in understanding what a driver's body goes through during a wreck. NASCAR has chosen not to release Bell's delta V number publicly. The organization considers that information proprietary and keeps it private to protect driver privacy and the integrity of their safety research. However, NASCAR did note that Joe Gibbs Racing or Bell himself could choose to release that number if they wanted to. As of now, neither has done so. What has been confirmed is the physical consequence. Christopher Bell suffered a fractured left wrist as a result of the accident. And there's one more detail that reveals just how serious this crash was. NASCAR's post-incident review was extensive. Bell's number 20 Toyota was first inspected in the garage immediately after the crash. Officials conducted visual inspections, photographed the car, and downloaded data from the incident data recorder. The car was then transported back to Joe Gibbs Racing's facility in Huntersville, North Carolina, where the evaluation continued. Matt Harper reportedly began reviewing the crash data within minutes of receiving the photos and information from Michigan. One area that received particular attention was Bell's restraint system, the Hans device, the harness, the seat, all of it. Because in an impact of this magnitude, those systems are not just important. They are the difference between walking away and not walking away. To fully understand why NASCAR officials reacted the way they did, it helps to look back at some of the hardest crashes in recent NASCAR history and compare them to what Bell experienced. In 2021, Ryan Newman survived a terrifying crash at the Daytona 500 that sent his car skidding down the front stretch on fire. The images were horrifying. Newman walked out of the hospital 2 days later, shocking everyone. In 2022, Kyle Busch had a significant impact at Las Vegas Motor Speedway that raised immediate safety concerns. Also in 2022, there were several brutal wrecks during the early stages of the next-gen era as teams and NASCAR's engineers learned how the new car handled high-speed contact differently from its predecessor. In 2023 and 2024, drivers across the field spoke openly about how the next-gen car's stiffer chassis transferred more energy through the structure during crashes, raising ongoing conversations about how to continue improving safety for the current generation of car. And through all of it, through every hard hit, every scary moment, every wall shot that made fans collectively hold their breath, none of them produced a harder recorded impact than Christopher Bell at Michigan in 2025. That is context that genuinely puts this crash in a different category. It also raises an important conversation about how NASCAR safety has evolved to the point where a driver can survive the hardest recorded impact of an entire car generation with a fractured wrist and be medically cleared to race days later. Think about what that actually means. The safer barriers absorbing energy. The car structure designed to deform in specific ways to protect the driver. The Hans device preventing the head and neck from experiencing the full force of the deceleration. The seat, the harness, the window net, all of it working together in a fraction of a second to keep Christopher Bell alive and functioning. The fractured wrist is not a small injury. It's real and it's painful. But in the context of what the data showed happened at Michigan, a fractured wrist is a remarkable outcome. Now here is where the story takes another turn. Because most people, after surviving the hardest recorded crash of the next-gen era with a fractured wrist, would understandably take some time away. Christopher Bell had other plans. Joe Gibbs Racing officially confirmed that Bell was medically cleared to compete in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Pocono Raceway just days after the Michigan incident. After the crash, Bell underwent comprehensive medical evaluation back in North Carolina. X-rays confirmed the fracture in his left wrist. Doctors assessed the damage, assessed Bell's overall condition, and made a determination he was cleared to race. And Bell didn't hesitate. Now, you have to understand what Pocono Raceway actually demands from a driver. Pocono is a triangular track, unlike any other circuit on the NASCAR calendar. Each of the 3 corners is completely different banking, different entry angles, different speeds. Drivers deal with heavy steering loads throughout the entire race. There is no rhythm, no comfort zone where your arms can rest. Pocono demands constant physical input for the entire distance. Even healthy drivers describe Pocono as one of the more physically taxing tracks on the schedule. Bell was going to compete there with a fractured left wrist. And his reasoning, when you think about it from his perspective, makes complete sense. Bell is one of the legitimate championship contenders in the Cup Series this season. The Michigan DNF already cost him valuable points at a critical juncture of the year. The playoffs are looming. Every race matters. Every point matters. Every opportunity to gain ground on the competition, or at minimum not lose anymore, is precious. Stepping away from Pocono would mean handing an advantage to every driver in front of him or right behind him in the standings. Bell clearly decided that was not something he was willing to accept. That decision tells you a great deal about who Christopher Bell is as a competitor. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, because the Bell situation is not happening in isolation. It's happening right in the middle of a championship battle that is becoming more intense with every single race. Bell entered the Michigan weekend as one of the stronger performers in the Cup Series field this season. Joe Gibbs Racing had been showing good speed, and Bell had been quietly building the kind of consistency that wins championships in this format. The Michigan DNF was a significant blow. Depending on where Bell was running at the time of the crash, He may have lost anywhere from a handful to a significant number of championship points compared to where he could have finished. In the current NASCAR playoff system, every regular season point matters. They carry over. They can be the difference between advancing through playoff rounds or being eliminated. A DNF caused by an accident that wasn't your fault can haunt a championship campaign for months. Bell knows this better than anyone, which is why competing at Pocono with a fractured wrist was not a reckless decision. It was a calculated one. The potential reward, continuing to accumulate points, potentially winning or finishing well, maintaining momentum outweighed the physical discomfort of driving injured. This is, honestly, the reality of competing for a NASCAR championship. It has always required a combination of speed, strategy, team strength, and an almost unreasonable level of personal toughness. Christopher Bell is demonstrating that toughness right now, in real time. And the NASCAR community has noticed. Across social media, across the garage area, among drivers and fans alike, the reaction to Bell's decision to race at Pocono has been one of genuine respect. There is one more thread in this story that deserves to be acknowledged. And it's the one that sometimes gets overlooked in the middle of all the dramatic headlines. NASCAR's safety program. The fact that Christopher Bell survived the hardest recorded impact of the next-gen era and is back in a race car a week later is not an accident. It is the direct result of decades of investment, research, and innovation in driver safety. The safer barrier system installed at tracks across the country. The NASCAR Research and Development Center's ongoing work on crash structures. The evolution of the Hans device. The continuous refinement of seat technology and restraint systems. The data collection that allows officials like Matt Harper to study every single incident and apply those lessons to make the next generation of cars safer. None of that happens overnight. And none of it is cheap. But when you see Christopher Bell walk away from a crash that, in a previous era of NASCAR, might have had a very different outcome, that's where all of that investment shows its value. This sport has lost drivers to crashes that were less severe than what Bell experienced at Michigan. And while we should never take any crash lightly, the trajectory of NASCAR safety over the last 2 decades has been remarkable. Bell's survival and recovery from this specific crash is a testament to that progress. So here's where we land with this story. Christopher Bell survived the hardest recorded crash of the next-gen era. He fractured his wrist. NASCAR officials, people who have spent years studying the most violent wrecks in modern NASCAR, looked at the data from Michigan and said they had never seen anything like it. And Bell's response to all of that? He got back in the car. That's who Christopher Bell is. That's what it takes to compete for a NASCAR championship. And that's exactly why moments like this remind all of us why we watch this sport. Now I want to hear from you. Were you surprised to learn that Bell's Michigan crash was officially the hardest hit ever recorded in the next-gen era? And do you think he can remain a serious championship threat while dealing with that fractured wrist? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed to NASCAR Report today yet, what are you waiting for? We are building something real here. A channel that goes deeper than the highlights, that covers the stories that actually matter, and that treats NASCAR fans like they're intelligent enough to understand the full picture. We are chasing 15,000 subscribers. If you're watching this right now, you're early. Be part of this community from the beginning. Hit subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in the next one. This is NASCAR Report today. We'll talk soon.